Y'all ready for this? Alright, enough of that.
Mortal Kombat!
You started doing that before we started actually recording, and I was like, oh, well, I guess I know what the bit's gonna be.
Hey man, I can't help it when great movies use great soundtracks.
I guess I know what the opening bit's gonna be.
Yeah.
No, but seriously, guys, speaking of bits, if you have any suggestions for opening bits, please let us know. We might do them. We just might. Could be pretty fun. Who knows?
Yep.
You know what else is fun?
Beating a pinata till the candy comes out?
That and getting episode 21 of the show underway. So let's do that. Hello and welcome to episode 21 of the R&R Gaming Podcast. I'm your host, Byron Weed. Yes. Byron Reed, and I have the sniffles. Alongside me is my co-host.
Ken Rossi.
Do you have the sniffles as well? So you just call this the sniffle cast.
Sure, yeah. But if you're Byron Weed, are you best friends with Snoop Dogg?
Snoopity doo? Yeah, whatever.
Yeah.
You couldn't see me, obviously, but as I was heading into the start the show thing, I was like winding up a point and pointed towards my wall. It was fantastic. Like,
Right.
Let's start this show, and I pointed to the wall like, cha-cha. It was great.
Okay.
Finger guns at the wall.
Let's just drop it like it's hot. Drop it like it's hot. Drop it like
Yeah.
it's... Oh, wait.
Yes. So, I apologize for my sniffling in advance. It's going to happen. I'm going to try and do it away from the mic, but the mic's going to probably pick it up anyway. So, I apologize for the sniffling. If it gets on your nerves, sorry. I'm sick.
Well-
What are we going to do?
Here's the general rule. Sniffles are okay. Snorts are not.
Okay, fair enough.
Because, sniffles
Fair
like...
enough. I'll
Snorts
try-
like...
Yeah. Yeah, that was unsettling. And we probably lost all our fans right there. They were like, you know what, I'm done, bro. It was fine until he started snorting, and I was like, you know what, I'm good. Set it up.
Hey, we could create a spin-off called the S&S podcast for the snorts and sniffles.
Oh god. Oh god. I don't know. That might not go so well. It might. Like sniffling or whatever,
Right? Especially if you
Oh,
sniffle
God,
like
but
a song.
Oh yeah, that would be fantastic. Yeah, just into the microphone for an hour.
Yeah.
Or 5 minutes, that'd be great. So, enough about that. What have you been playing, my friend?
Well, I decided, and by I mean me and my wife decided, that she would get me early for Christmas the new Xbox One X.
Oh.
Yes, I was pausing for dramatic effect and applause and oohs and ahs.
Yes.
Um,
I'll have to add some claps and input.
Yeah,
But there's one.
I don't think we do. But no, so got the new console, and I thought that I'd go over a few things that we talked about last week and maybe clear up a few misconceptions that we had when we were talking about it. And
yeah, please do.
yeah, so first and foremost, we talked about the storage capacity for the Xbox One X and the 4K games. And I can gladly report that the biggest download that I've seen for the update has been 5 gigabytes. So
Okay.
I don't know what the Gears of War 4 was updating so much that it needed like 178 gigabytes, because truthfully speaking, I don't have that, so I don't know if that was just like a temporary update that made it massive and they were going to fix it later
Right.
or what. But every game that I have that is Xbox One X enhanced has only been like a 5 gigabyte update. It hasn't been very big at all. So I still got plenty of storage space available to download more games.
Like, is it like, does it look any better than what we currently have?
So the 2 games that I've played that are Xbox One X enhanced has been Madden NFL and NBA 2K18. Both of those look marvelous in 4K. All right, they're just oh my god, I'm like mwah. I have to say, so definitely the 4K. I don't know if I would say it's worth it to buy the Xbox One X for the 4K resolution. I mean, definitely if you have it, you need to. Like, if you have a 4K TV and you're not playing your games on an Xbox One X, you're playing it on an S or just the original Xbox, like, you wasted your money on the TV. You need to go and get the Xbox One X. Okay, there's no ifs, ands, or buts. Like, I even watched the Spider-Man Homecoming. I purchased that digitally, and they gave an ultra high definition version of it for free. Granted, I didn't have the Xbox One X or S to play the 4K in yet, so I watched it in standard definition. But when I went in and started watching this again, like, I started noticing like people in the background and stuff going on behind the scene, and like there was so much detail and clarity that I'm like, oh wow, I didn't even notice that. Like, an example, I don't know if you've watched it, Byron. I'm assuming not because it's not an anime, but
That was a shot, sir.
Yeah. But there's a scene where Peter Parker goes into a store to buy a sandwich, and blah 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 happens. But I noticed on the back of the wall in the shop, there are scratch tickets that I'm assuming you can buy that are just hanging there. Like, those are the scratch tickets they offer, I assume, and not like paid winners or whatever. And I didn't notice that in the high definition version. Like, I didn't even know they were there. Like, the amount of detail is just insane, what it can do. So, I mean, I guess if you like highly detailed movies, then, you know, get an Xbox One X, buy the ultra high definition movies, and you'll have a good time. But yeah, it's really great. I did have to, because of my TV, I did have to go into some settings and change some stuff. Like, I actually found out, I thought my TV had come out the year before HDR came out and was super popular, and I think I talked about that in the last show, and I was super bummed. And I found out my TV actually has HDR, but it didn't have the name HDR yet. Like, they gave that name to TVs that had it after that version that I got, so that I guess people knew that it had that capabilities or whatever. But I did have to actually go in and turn that on. Like, there's an option in my TV called UHD color, and I had to go in and turn that on in order for the Xbox to actually recognize that it could do HDR capable content. But once I turned that on, everything was fine. It said that there was no problems playing the games in 4K and the ultra high definition colors and all the good stuff. I can't think of anything else that we had that was like a misconception at this time. Because, I mean, I think that was it, right?
Pretty much, yeah. Pretty much the gist of it, anyway. I think you covered it.
I hope so.
Yeah, but I'm glad you're enjoying your Xbox One X.
Yeah, I definitely am. I'm even watching standard content in it because it boosts it up into high definition quality, and I've been watching a lot of Star Trek, and
Right.
it's been making it like the colors and the images stand out and making it feel like I'm actually there when they filmed it. So it's really
Huh.
cool in upscaling as well. So I've been watching a lot of videos on there. And overall, for me, I think it's been a good purchase. Um, that's right. There were some things too, though. Like I should say, I'm upgrading from the original Xbox, not an Xbox One S. So I don't know
Right.
if they did this with the S version or not. But the little beeping sound it makes when you turn it on is super quiet now.
Huh.
Like before, I used to turn it on and it'd be like boo, and my dog would get up like, what's that sound? And now
Huh.
when I do that, they like don't even budge. It's like a little boo, like you barely notice
Huh.
the beeping as much. So I'm a little sad at that.
Right.
Um, they did get rid of the big box power adapter. Um,
Oh,
like
okay.
that huge power transformer that you plug into the wall into the unit.
Yeah.
They got rid of that. Now it's just a simple cable. I assume the power is inside the Xbox One X itself, but the power is there, so you just got a simple little cable connecting to it. And lastly, that I'll just mention here, I didn't weigh it, but it feels quite heavier than the original Xbox. Like even though it's smaller in size and it's taken up
Right.
not nearly as much. Like when I lift up the Xbox One X, I'm like, oh, that's pretty heavy, or I should say the original Xbox. And then when I grab the X, I'm just like, oh my god, that's heavier than the original.
That's
So
interesting.
yeah, it's pretty interesting. I'm enjoying it, but for time constraints, I'll move on and ask you, what have you been playing, Byron?
Well, I've been playing some Destiny over the course of the week. The faction rallies are back. Been having a good time doing that, grinding tokens with my future warlock, because
Warlock.
future war code's the best.
Yeah.
I really hope that Orbit does not win because I don't want that grenade launcher on it. Grenade launchers are not in a good place right now. But really though, I'm not interested in the grenade launcher. The fusion rifle that Future War Code has, it could be good, but also could be bad depending on the perks that it has on it. The
Mm-hmm.
sword for New Monarchy is interesting. I don't have a New Monarchy character right now though, so that doesn't matter to me, unfortunately. But other than that, I've been playing WWE 2K18. I had an unfortunate incident happen this past week with the game. On there the night before the incident happened, messing with things and getting some getting some other things taken care of for
Wait,
my universe mode.
were the police called?
No,
Okay.
no,
Sorry,
so
you made it sound like this incident
that's okay.
happened, and I'm like, what kind
Oh,
of
I,
incident?
I'm getting to the incident. I'm getting there.
Okay.
So going through it, I'm messing with things, getting highlight reel clips for my show intros and everything,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm done all that. Turn it off. Go to play it the next day to actually type up my second episode of my Women of Wrestling show, and the game turns on, and it says welcome to WWE 2K18, blah 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 blah. Like I'm starting all over again. So
Oh
I'm like,
no.
oh no 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 no! I'm freaking out right now. What is this? What is this? So you go in, and everything that I had, my custom shows, my universe mode, my characters, like everything that I put all that time into,
Uh-huh.
is gone.
Wow.
And I even tried to grab it from the cloud, and it didn't show up for some reason. But the strange thing to me though is, there was an update. There was an update recently
Mm-hmm.
for Xbox, and when it updates, it asks you, hey, do you want to update your save data to the newest, so that way it's up to date with the current patch or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And you have to hit yes, because if you hit no, it'll wipe everything.
Hmm. Do you
I
think?
hit yes,
Oh,
or at least I thought I did. Maybe I accidentally hit no. I honestly don't remember, but I'm 100% confident that I hit yes on this.
right.
So, needless to say, everything is gone, and I have to start all over again. The good news is that my characters that I had created, I put those up on the CC for download, so I can go in and download them myself, and I have to recreate them all over again. So that
Nice.
saved me a lot of time.
Right.
So I'm working on putting everything back together the way it was, and I'll be hopefully getting around to posting week 2 of my Women of Wrestling show within the next few days, depending on how my setup process goes and everything. So yeah, and it's taking a little longer because they limit the amount of downloads you can do in a day for server purposes. You're limited to 20 downloads a day. And if you're downloading, a lot of wrestlers and attires, it's gonna take a bit for you to get things back to the way they were. So that's where I am with that whole thing. I have another friend who suffered the same issue that I did, and he has shelved the game for the time being. So I can understand why.
Yeah.
I'm gonna power through. I'm gonna power through and try to get everything back up to where it was, and then I'll go from there. But it's just unfortunate that I had that happen to me. I did contact 2K support, and they tried to help me with it, but nothing that we had tried worked. So unfortunately for me, I decided to chalk it up as a lost cause and just get started again. So
Right. That sucks. I mean, losing your save data is never, it's never anything I would actually even wish on my worst enemy. Because I've gone through that and it sucks so bad. But it's
yeah,
kind of interesting though. I mean, this isn't the first time I've heard of somebody with a 2K game that has lost their character or their saves. Speaking of NBA 2K18, that there was a bunch of people that first started playing that.
yeah,
They
there
lost their
were.
characters and their characters got wiped.
Mm-hmm.
And there's like,
Yep. One of my buddies actually lost his character.
yeah. I know one person they showed, they gave him 500,000 VC because he lost his character.
Yeah, it's insane.
Mm-hmm.
But hey, but I don't know, man. It's really weird that it happened. But I'll be sure that when the next patch goes live for WWE, that I'm paying attention to which button I'm hitting before I do anything. Because like I said, I mean, I very well could have just hit no because no may have been the top option for some
Right.
reason. So I'll have to pay attention next time, so that way this does not happen again. Because if it does, then I'll be shelving it for the time being.
If it does, I'd be asking for my money back. That's what I'd be doing. Because that's a lot
Yeah,
of time
that
and a
too.
lot of money to get it early just to have your saves and characters and everything go bye bye at the push of a button.
Yeah, and you know how much time I put into this.
Mm,
I'm pretty sure I spoke about it on the show before too. It takes a lot of time to do the things I'm doing with
right.
with the game.
And you're one of the
I'm
top
not just
trending
going
guys on
in.
Operation Sports too.
Yeah, yeah. I'm not just one of those guys that's going in and doing a universe mode with one character and controlling them or whatever. Like no, I'm doing everything: storylines, rivalries, custom shows, pay-per-views. Like I'm typing it up.
Yep.
So it's taking more time than what it normally would, unless it's my NXT show, which is currently quote unquote taped, and the live shows will be the takeover pay-per-view events.
Right.
So for the NXT shows, those take maybe like 10-20 minutes because I'm just simming through and writing up quick hit results
Right.
for everything and posting it that way. But the live shows will be what I normally do for Raw, SmackDown, and my Women of Wrestling show. So again, it takes a long time.
Yep.
So it's unfortunate that it happened,
That is.
but working on it. I'll be working on that once we finish the podcast before I go to work.
Right.
Yeah. So let's hop into our new segment, shall we? GameStop has reported that they sold through nearly all of their stock on the Xbox One X's on release day.
Uh-huh.
The quote comes from the GameStop SVP of merchandising, Bob Puzon, says that sales of the new Xbox One X have been incredible. We have sold through most of our initial allotment in just one day. We are already working with Microsoft to get our hands on more of the world's most powerful video game console. So it doesn't say how much of how many units they sold,
Right.
which is obviously a critical detail. But I think just knowing that they've sold through, like I said, a majority of their units in the first 24 hours, in my mind, is impressive in and of itself.
Well, that's true. But the story didn't mention that only 90% of those sales went to scalpers. So, um,
Is that a true statement?
yeah, that's a true statement. Here's the other thing, though, and this is the key word. He said most of, which means
Yes.
that they still have, like, you could sell through 60% of your stock, and that would be most of your stock. So if you had
Right.
a million units for this Xbox One X and you sold through most of them, that could only be 600,000 compared to like the Switch that sold out of all of its stock
Right.
and is already
That
at
that's very
the 2
true.
million unit
That's very
mark.
true. Yeah, that's very true. And it could also be a case of GameStop and other retailers, specifically GameStop for the article purposes, requesting a conservative number, a small number of the units because they weren't sure, how popular it was gonna be and all the other stuff, and they got hit harder than they expected to, so they'll order more for the future.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. It could also be that, like you said, they ordered a conservative amount. So if they only ordered, we'll say like 500,000, half a million units, but they only sold through like
Yeah.
300,000 units. I mean, as long as you're selling more than half, that's most of, and that would be better than you expect to sell on a launch for a new console or product.
Yeah,
So,
it makes sense. Makes sense. You were telling me a story though before we started recording, which I thought was pretty interesting
about
about the
the
Xbox One
availability.
X and the you went to go buy. Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah, well, so yeah, I mean, I was obviously I was looking into it because I bought one, but um,
yeah. Oh no.
no, when we was looking into it, every retailer that we looked into said that it was sold out and that you couldn't find any anywhere. And then as soon as the release date, which was the 7th of November, every retailer said that it was available to order and that you could purchase them from them. And it wasn't like out of stock, let me know. It said that they were available to purchase. And in fact, Walmart's website actually said that they had Project Scorpio editions available. Which, by the way, that's not what I got, but they said that it was
Right.
available on their website. And every other place that I've been to, at least on the 7th, they all said that it was available. Now, I haven't checked
Yeah, that
since
is
then,
interesting.
but it seems, I don't want to say weird, but we'll say weird or maybe suspicious that they're. Microsoft was saying, "Oh wow, we sold through like pretty much all of our pre-orders, and it's all, we don't have any available." And then you look on websites and they say they're sold out, but as soon as it becomes Tuesday, bam, here's all these units that seem to be available or became available to purchase.
Right.
So yeah, so that's what I thought was interesting that they suddenly became available when they were out of stock. Because there's a whole other story that I had with Walmart that I won't get into because I hate them. And, that may mean that I never get their sponsorship on the podcast, but I'm okay with that. But yeah, so this whole other thing happened, and so that's just something that I found interesting.
I feel that. It makes sense. But
Hmm.
it's definitely interesting that this happened, and it'll be something to keep our eyes on.
Right.
So, what's your first piece of news, my dude?
So my first piece of news is the Capcom has been talking that they're making games for the Nintendo Switch, and that Phoenix Wright will be one of the games they're making.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah. The Capcom COO, Haruhiro Tsujiru, I hope I pronounced that correctly, he was talking with a Japanese industry site called Gigi. It's not spelt good game, but JIJI. But in the message, he revealed that the company is already developing new titles to release on the Nintendo Switch in the fiscal year 2018, such as Ace Attorney and other series that are popular inside and outside of Japan. So I think this is good news for people that like Phoenix Wright, like myself. I love me some good Phoenix Wright. The only problem, though, is that fiscal year 2018, that could be as far away as April of 2019. So your
Yeah,
fiscal years
true.
don't quite work like a normal year. So we may not be getting a Phoenix Wright until way into the future.
Right. Yeah, but it's taken long enough for Nintendo to do other things. You know.
Objection! It's Capcom, not Nintendo.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. My bad, my bad. But I heard Nintendo Switch and I thought about Nintendo. But
Yeah.
yeah,
Well, yeah, Capcom, to my knowledge, I can't think of a game Capcom has released on the Nintendo Switch yet.
yeah, I can't think of any either. I'm thinking about it. So
Yeah. So, good news. I mean, I wish that Capcom would announce a new Mega Man game. I mean, come on, Capcom! It's been over 10 years since we've got a brand new Mega Man game.
but you had one. It was that other game. What was it called again?
If,
What was that
if,
thing called?
if you're talking about Marvel versus Capcom, no, that doesn't count, okay?
No, the quote unquote Mega Man game. The
Oh,
other
that
one.
wasn't Capcom, dude.
Yeah.
Mighty Number
I
9?
know it wasn't.
That that was
Ah,
not Capcom. That was not
it was
Mega
a
Man
joke.
because I didn't even
Yeah.
I got through one boss and I was like, "Man, this game sucks." And I haven't played it since. So I can get
That's what
that
I was
is
thinking about.
not.
Mighty number nine.
I'm sorry, but that is not Mega Man.
I just wanted to trigger somebody, and it worked. Uh-huh. No, I'm kidding. But
Uh,
yeah, bring back Mega Man, Capcom.
I actually have a whole story about
Yeah,
that. I
my
could spend another 10 minutes telling you stuff. But again,
I
that's
believe it.
yeah,
I
let's
believe it.
let's move on to your next news.
Yeah, sure, sure. So, Take-Two has announced that 42% of their net income has come from microtransactions, and that means that we'll be seeing a lot more of them in the future because they want their games to have this they call it a recurrent consumer spending element. So that could be in the form of virtual currency, add-on content, and microtransactions. So
So
that's
in other
interesting.
words, they want
We
more
had this
money.
right, which again is not a surprise. Regardless of how we feel about them, this is the way things are going now. The comment from Take Two CEO Strauss Zelnick said in a earnings call last week, was that you can expect to see recurring consumer spending be included in most, if not all, of the company's games going forward. Uh, and then the article goes on to say it may not always be virtual currency, may not always be microtransactions, may not always be expansions, but Take-Two is aiming to bake into its games some element that keeps players coming back and spending. So, the shark cards for GTA Online, those are a big deal. I would expect to see something similar in the upcoming Red Dead Redemption 2, in the form of some sort of, for money in the game, in the online component. I don't know what that's going to mean for the single player side of the game, but we'll
Mm-hmm.
see what's going to happen because,
Right.
it's coming.
Well, it's definitely interesting what our gaming horizon looks like. Because I'm not so sure I like the look of it. Um, just because I mean, for me, I like that a game is a standalone package. I like that when I buy a game, I can access everything. I don't like that I have to download an update or I have to get the next microtransaction, the next part of the story by paying for the DLC or buying the season pass. I
Hmm.
don't like that. I want my stuff to be contained. Like with a movie, when you buy a movie, that's it. That's the movie. That's what you watch. It's not like you have extra DLC for the movie that you buy an extra 30 minutes to watch a special epilogue that they have that wasn't included in the original movie but should have been and could have been. You know,
Right.
like
Yeah.
it's messed up that we already pay so much for our games and yet they're wanting to charge us more for our games. Like for me,
Yeah,
that's
I feel you.
that's just
I feel
messed
you
up.
there.
Like
We go ahead.
put that extra story in the sequel if that's what you want. You know, don't don't charge us for stuff that you already finished, but kept out of the original game. But even more
I
so,
feel you there.
yeah, thanks. Um, but it's even more interesting because I read a story that the CEO of EA said that they're more likely, in I guess simple words, layman terms, whatever, that they will probably be moving their services to a subscription based service. And
Yeah, all their games are going the open world with
MMO,
with microtransactions route,
right? Well,
which I don't like at all, but we'll get there.
yeah, I mean, I agree with you. I don't like that either, but it almost seems like that's the way we're going. I mean, just look at Patreon. Like, how
Yeah.
many people subscribe on Patreon? You know, like you have someone that you want to support, you're gonna pay monthly for it, and it seems like that's the best way to keep your customers. Why have them spend $60 for a game if they're um, gonna play it once and never come back when you can get them to subscribe to the game and pay, we'll say, $120 for it, essentially.
Yeah. Yeah.
You
Yeah,
know,
because there was talk of Madden and some of the sports games, going to be biannually instead of annually,
right?
and just have a update, for the next season with what they're gonna do. But yeah, again, like this is a bigger discussion that we could have later on down the road. But
I don't know. That's what I was saying.
it's
The horizon for video games seems awfully weird. Like, um, and I don't seem to notice it on PC as much. Like, it seems like it's console games that are doing this. Like, am I wrong?
right. Well, I think most of these games are on all the consoles now. What with the lack of exclusives and the Microsoft's Play Anywhere deal, if they have the game set up for that,
Mm-hmm.
then most of these games are doing it everywhere. So,
Pause.
you know, yeah, yeah. So it's one of those things where it may because Red Dead, for instance, let's say it's primarily it made its name, on consoles or whatever. That doesn't mean that going to PC is going to change any of that.
Yeah.
There's still shark cards and things like that for the online version of GTA on PC and all the other business. So it's the same practices, really, on
Yeah.
both sides of the coin.
That's true.
Yeah, but like I said, we can put a pin in this one and come back to it later because we could definitely have a discussion about that.
All right.
So, on your second piece of news, my friend.
Moving on to my second piece of news, and that's that Activision is getting sued by Humvee for using its vehicles in Call of Duty without permission. Bam.
Huh.
Yeah, so apparently Routers is reporting that AM General LLC, who is the makers of Humvee, says that the game company took advantage of its goodwill and reputation by using the Humvee and the HMMWV marks in the popular game franchise, as well as its related materials such as toys and books. So apparently this is going back from, I'm assuming, the Modern Warfare set of games and not the original Call of Duty, because if they made Humvee in the World War II game, that's just not a very historic video game representation. Just saying. So, but it does say here, since 2003, the Call of Duty games have all sold over 250 million units and brought in 15 billion worth of revenue. So, odds are, if this, I guess, lawsuit goes on, we probably won't see anything come of it until probably like 2024, if I'm being honest. But that is interesting that Activision is being sued by Humvee for using their license without permission.
Yeah, that is interesting that's happening. It's sort of like a likeness issue, I guess, so to speak.
Right. Well, with the like the vehicles that they have, I mean, if they aren't changing them or making them different, and they're like taking the actual Humvees and not getting permission to use those, that's a big no-no. Like, they have to at least get permission. They have to say, hey, we want to use your Humvees in the game. Some companies are like, yeah, go ahead, that'll be fine. Or some companies are like, well, hey, give us a little money and we'll allow you to use those. So, but if they didn't ask and they just used them and expected the Humvee makers to not or to be okay with that, I should say, then this will be a major issue, and they could see at least 250 million units or dollars, I should say, out of the lawsuit, just being like $1 per sell of the game.
Right.
So yeah. So I don't know if you have anything to say about this.
I mean, not really. It is interesting. Like I said, that this is happening. It's kind of weird, I guess, though, because when I don't know the specifics of the whole thing, obviously, but it seems kind of strange that they would, it. Let's say they are blatantly ripping off the Humvee's design. Let's just say that. And if you go so far into the future, like they did with the game prior to World War II returning, you go so far into the future that you can kind of do whatever the hell you want, vehicles and things of that nature. So,
right. Well, they
for
had
them to do that is kind of
they had
strange.
3 Modern Warfare games though, and then they also had the Black Ops games, which I know that some of those were set in the past, but I thought they were partially set in the present as well.
Sort of, yeah.
Yeah.
Whole thing, it's kind of complicated.
Yeah. So, yeah. I mean, I guess it's just interesting, but I get your point.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll have to see where it goes.
Yeah. So moving on to your
in 2024.
last piece of news information.
Yes, my last piece of news comes from Bluehole Studios, and it's that they're working on a new game It's called Ascent Infinite Realm, or Air for short. It will be made by Cacao, if I'm pronouncing that right. Cacao Games, they made Terra, if you're familiar with that. It
Mm-hmm.
is a steampunk MMORPG, and it's gonna mix the obviously steampunk vibe with the high fantasy. So you'll see things like dragons and things of that nature. There are 5 classes in the game: sorceress, gunslinger, assassin, and mystic. Each will have 2 subclasses, which will become available at a later date. There's a beta being planned for the first half of 2018, and I have already gone and subscribed to the newsletter to keep myself informed on this. I watched the trailer when I found it in one of my subscription feeds that I'm a part of, and it looks really, really fun and interesting. There's a lot of combat things in there that look really cool.
Mm-hmm.
The airships and things like that look really, really cool. And there's an element in there that is surprising to me. There's a what looks to be community development in the trailer, because you'll see the characters, working on things, and there's a town that gets built up over time. There's a day night cycle, and it has dynamic weather, so there'll be snow and things of that nature as well. Combining all of that with what they have going on, it's something that I'm going to keep my eye on. I'm assuming it's going to come to PC first,
Right.
and I'm kind of hoping it makes its way to consoles soon, or soon after that,
Mm-hmm.
because I really want to play this.
All right.
So,
Well,
if
everybody
we can
needs
find
air.
the trailer, I'll try and get it for you so we can link it in the description for our YouTube video,
Uh-huh.
and then I'll probably post it on the Joystick forums and on Facebook as well.
Well, heck, if you send me the video, we could even pause right now and let the people on YouTube watch it. So, the last news story I have is that Nintendo, if you had any, suspicion that I wasn't going to talk about Nintendo,
You were wrong.
yes, they are going to significantly ramp up the Nintendo Switch production for next year. Yay.
I'm not surprised.
Yeah. So in a report from the Wall Street Journal, Nintendo is aiming to turn out as many as 30 million units for next year, which will start in April. So, depending on how this holiday season goes, could also depend on how many units they sell. Because also according to this, that over the 7-month period, it says that Nintendo has sold 7.63 million systems, and that they plan to sell 9.1 million by the console's 1-year anniversary, which I believe is in March.
Huh.
So they even did a projection forecast for the fiscal year. The Nintendo president, they actually changed their projections from 10 million units up to 14 million units in that fiscal year. And when you also consider that Sony is actually putting games on this console as well, that could be good news for them. If you don't know what I'm talking about, you should check out episode 18, where we talked about that.
Yes, you should. Callbacks, I like it.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's episode 18. If it's not, just keep listening and watching them on YouTube or on iTunes or whatever. Yeah, well, eventually, somewhere, you'll find it. We talked about it, I swear.
Yeah, you'll see it. We did. Do you know what? While you're there on the YouTube page, just watch all the other old episodes. Or listen to them anyway. Yeah.
It would legitimately help us out quite a bit.
Yes.
Just play it on your computer in the background. Go walk away or whatever. It'll auto play the next one.
Walk away.
Yeah, you don't have to listen to it. I mean, we'd appreciate it if you did, but you don't have to.
If you become a fan, listen to the podcast. That's what I'm trying to say.
You got it.
The R&R podcast, everyone, with Ken Rusty and
Byron Weed.
Byron, yes. It's my Halloween costume for next year. Oh man. All right, so I think we should hop into our main topic for the episode.
Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah, and it's funny because we actually had a mini side discussion about it last week, but we decided to make it a whole episode and just talk about collections.
Yeah.
We touched last week about collections for games and other business. I forget how we even got on the topic. Regardless, we're here now, so. Let's go ahead and talk about it. Yeah. How collections? Like, what do you think makes people do these things?
Well, there's many points that we could bring up. I mean, there's the psychological aspect. There's the nostalgic aspect of it. I mean, there's many reasons why people can do what they do.
Right.
All I can really do is explain why I collect video games, and really it started for 2 reasons for me. The first was that I back when I was a younger lad, we had a Super Nintendo and probably about 5-10 games, something like that, and I wanted to get, I think it was this new game. Or I just wanted some money, so I was a kid. I wanted to get stuff, and I needed money to do that. And so traded in games at the local pawn shop. They really didn't give me very much money for them, but at the time I was a kid, I didn't know any better.
Yeah.
And I got whatever it was I got. I mean, it's so important that I've completely forgotten why I needed or wanted the money. So, anyways, yeah, but I got that, and probably about a month later, I was like missing the games that I had. Like I wanted to go back and play them. I was bored. I was hating myself because I got rid of them. So I kind
Right.
of promised myself at that time that I wasn't going to get rid of my games because I didn't know when I'd want to go back to them or when I wanted to, if you will, see them again. Um, and the next big thing for me is that um, when the Nintendo GameCube came out, it was PlayStation 2, Xbox, and GameCube, and the GameCube didn't really have a lot of support. It was the third rung, if you will, of the three gaming pillars at that time. And so I kind of decided to myself, you know what? I'm going to support the GameCube. When there's a game that's on all three consoles, I'm going to get the GameCube version, and I'm going to try and buy more GameCube games to help them become better because I really did love the GameCube. I thought it was a great console. It's short, compact, um, little device that produces a lot of power, and so I just, like I said, I wanted to support them.
Right.
And then I decided, I bought all these games for the GameCube, and I had a pretty good collection size for that. I was like, well, why stop there? Why not just get all of the North American GameCube games that were ever released, and then I can just, go from there and get all those games. And that's kind of where it started, um, because now uh, my biggest collection for any one console is on the GameCube, and I have somewhat around like 450 games. I don't remember the exact amount, but it's over 450 GameCube games. They take up one 7-foot bookshelf all by themselves.
Jesus.
Yeah, uh, they're also doubled up, I should say, but um, they take up that, and I still actually haven't completed that yet. I still have about I think it's 80 to 50 GameCube games that I need in order to have that complete collection for North America.
Wow.
Um, but
How
once
long
I
did it
started,
take you to do all that?
well, I've been collecting since it came out, and that was 2001. So
Hmm.
yeah, so I've been collecting for however many years that is. Was that 16 years? Yeah. So I've
Sounds
been I've
right.
been collecting
Yeah.
games uh, for about 16 years, and I used to keep a little notebook. Like I'd write down the games that I had in a notebook, and it went from a single page, like half a paragraph, to a full page, to 2 pages, to 3 pages. And I think I got to 4 pages before I realized that I had so many games that I couldn't even go through the pages and read them all, and know which games I had.
Jeez.
Yeah, so I just kind of had to remember my games. And now I actually use an app, and I will scan my games into the app with their barcode so that I know what games I have. And I actually have it set up and a little plug here with an app called LibIb, spelled LIBIB.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a great little app that you can set up different qualifiers. Like you can just do video games, or I actually have it set up so that each console gets its own little kind of storage area in it. But you can also do movies and books. They actually have a professional version that you can get for like libraries if they want to use this to keep track of their inventory and their items on the books that they got to rent out and stuff.
Right.
So it's a really cool uh, little app that I've been using to keep track of them. But here's the other cool thing. I also have this set up on my wife's phone, so she can go into it and like go into GameStop for like my birthday or Christmas or whatever, and she can look at games that I might enjoy, and she can search in that app. And if the game doesn't show up in the app, then she knows I don't have it. But if it does show up, then she knows that I already own it, and she needs to not buy it for me.
That's very cool.
Yeah. So I have huge game collection, and I am now I'm about 50 games away from having 2,000 physical games in my collection.
Nice.
So I have currently three bookcases for games. The one bookcase for just the GameCube, and then the other two are for everything else, which is a lot. Sometimes. But no, that's kind of like how I started in my collection. What I guess for you, like, I guess we can ask how you started. Like, what's your collection like? How did you get into that?
Well, I've always, like you, I've always loved physical copies of games. You know, the box art.
Well, when we
Box art
started
that catches
collecting,
my
there was
eye.
no such thing as a digital copy.
There's also that too, right? When we started, digital games weren't a thing at all. You know, you had to go to a store and buy the game
Yep.
yourself, or get your parents to buy it for you, whatever it may be, depending on how old you were. So my collection, it's actually kind of shrunk over the years, unfortunately, because I have reluctantly traded in some of my games because I don't have the space to keep these things.
Mm,
You know, in a fashion that I would like to keep them in. We'll say it like that. But you know, I still like collecting physical copies of games when I can. Um, my friends are like, "Oh, you know, why do you still get physical copies?" I'm like, "Because I like them. What do you mean? I
yeah.
like having the case. I like having the disc. I like having all this stuff." So my yeah. I mean, bit of a sidetrack there. My apologies. Collection started. I want to say like when I could really buy games for myself,
Right.
which was probably we'll say around the 360 era, and but again that's just because I could buy the games for myself. I could decide what I want, you know, and I could keep these things around for longer. I still have my Super Nintendo. It's in the house somewhere. I still have it,
Right.
not plugged up or anything, but I have it. Still have the games. Still have the games that I had back then for it. Some of those games include Killer Instinct, two Roger Clemens baseball, which is very interesting.
Wow.
A few football games because I was mostly allowed to play sports games back in the day, not a whole lot of you know, but you know,
Okay.
Mortal Kombat, Killer Instinct are in there because you know didn't know better at the time. Anyway, now my collection consists of the Fallout 4 Pip Boy edition, which came with you know the big case that had the Pip Boy in it, and you know all the other stuff came with a controller, the Fallout 4 Vault Boy controller, which is really nice. It's blue. It's got the Vault Boy on the side in the right hand corner. Um, it again, it looks really nice. I'm currently using it because I don't have another controller until yesterday. I bought another controller so I can put that one away and not
R.I.P.
use it.
Oh,
Because I don't want to use it. Like
yeah.
it's a collector's thing for me. I don't want to use it. But I also have a collection of anime posters and anime figures and video games related stuff in my room. I have a map of Skyrim behind me on the right hand side of me. I have some Overwatch posters. I have I have a Gurren Lagann wall scroll. I have a Konosuba wall scroll. I have the Fallout 4 the perk tree. I
So,
have that perk tree poster.
so for you, collection is more than just the game itself. If I'm
Yeah,
understanding this, like
yeah,
you're more
yeah.
like
Basically,
the extra attachment that comes with it, like the poster or the music CD or the figurine, if you have that sort of money. Like, is that what
Yes,
I'm
yes.
understanding?
Thanks for yeah. Thanks for cutting me off. I was going along there. Yeah, not getting to the point. But I get passionate when I talk about this sort of thing. I think we all do.
Yeah.
I tend to skip around, but to end it though, I do have a like going to the figures thing. I have three right now. I only have three figures. I'm working on getting more, but they're all from anime. One is
Boo!
from
We're not an
the
anime podcast.
one is from the
No
Fate
anime.
Stay Night series. It's
I'm cutting you off, sir.
and
You've had too much anime to drink.
but yeah, it's fun. I enjoy it. I do the collecting that comes on. I hope they get more stuff,
Yeah.
more and more stuff. That's what it's all about, really.
Yeah. I mean,
Oh
I'm
man,
I'm almost to the point where I'm like, Jesus, where am I gonna put all this stuff now? Like, I'm running out of room to
yeah,
buy games, and but I like it, you know. I mean,
right,
there are worse
yeah,
sort of collection habits to have, you know. I think Byron Weed can tell us a bit about some of those things that are worse to have.
You're gonna become a character on the show. Oh god,
Yeah.
he's gonna become a character.
Yeah.
I like it.
So, um, I mean, there are worse things to be addicted to. Um, but
Yeah,
yeah, I mean, I think my goal, that is kind of my goal, is to get to 2000 and to finish up my GameCube collection. And then I'm going to try and slow it down just because, like I said, I'm running out of
right.
room. Um,
Yeah, I feel you.
but yeah, I mean,
I feel you. My go ahead.
I was just going to say, I don't really think there's any one game or any one thing in my collection that I like over anything else. You know,
Right.
like I do actually
Yeah.
have the Batman Arkham Asylum bat case that it came with. That came with like a framed batarang.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, that is pretty cool. Um,
Yeah,
but
I think one of I mean to cut you off, but my
no, you're right.
apologies. One of my goals would be to eventually get back the old consoles that I don't have anymore. So, PlayStation to PlayStation 2 or 3, whatever. Um, and possibly an Xbox at some point.
Right.
And, some of the games from those systems that I liked, not necessarily all of them, but just, some games that I have fond memories of. For
Yeah.
those respective systems.
Well, some of those games
Would
can
be a good
cost
goal to
quite a
have.
bit too. Like,
That's
uh,
very true, yeah.
my brother just got, I don't know how, but he has a Nintendo 64 and he wants me to get him Super Mario 64. And you'd think the
Hmm.
most popular Nintendo 64 game, it's available on the DS as an enhanced version. You got the new Super Mario Odyssey game that just came out. You'd think it'd be fairly cheap, but it's still going for like $30.
Huh.
And I'm like, dang.
It's kind of surprising. Yeah.
Yeah, for an N64 game, that seems like quite a bit.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. That's another one. That's one that I never played. I never owned it and then 64. So I want to get one of those as well.
Yeah, there's
Dreamcast maybe. Power
there are
Stone.
some good games for the 64. Like it, it didn't do very well, but there are some really great games for the
Yeah, I
64.
remember my cousin had one, and we used to go over there and play. We played Mario and the 64 Mario World joint. We played. What was it? Uh, Nightmare Creatures was one.
Hmm.
Oh my goodness, isn't I'm blanking on the name right now, but the GoldenEye.
GoldenEye.
The
Yep.
GoldenEye. Uh, so
Yeah.
just the fond memories that I have of those games that I would like to own for myself and eventually play and or beat one day. So
Right.
that's what my end goal is.
Right. One quick side note. A lot of people that played the N64 would say either Super Mario 64 or GoldenEye are their favorite games for the N64.
Yeah.
And while those are
Yeah.
great
I
games,
see that.
that is not my personal favorite game.
Well, what's your personal favorite?
My personal favorite game, thank you for asking, by the way, uh,
Yeah.
is
That's
it's
what you were
called
doing.
Ogre Battle 64, Person of Lordly Caliber. I assume it's a game not a lot of people played. They probably didn't even play the original Ogre Battle on the Super Nintendo, which is also one of my personal favorite games to play. I wish they would come out with a new one. You can't tell, but a tear is rolling down my cheek because I know that'll never happen.
That's fair. That's
Yeah.
fair enough. But I think
But, yeah.
if I had to, yeah, go ahead.
No, I was just saying, yeah.
Yeah, if I had to pick a favorite game from my childhood collection of games that I don't have anymore,
Uh-huh.
I don't know if this is gonna surprise you or anything, but it had to be Digimon World 2. Or this is the first one. Yeah, Digimon World. Yeah, that game was so much fun, and I remember as a kid always getting up to Factorial Town and getting stuck because you had to remember that hey, the guards changed shift at this point in time, so you can't go past them and get to the next part of Factorial Town unless you wait for the clock to get to a certain point and change shifts. And I finally got past that part on an emulator that I've been playing it on my laptop recently, and yeah, it's just it's so much fun.
Yep. But
It's so much fun.
I think we've collected as much information as we can from this segment.
I like it.
Yeah.
Like it. Yes, I think we have collected enough. I think it's time to head to our community segment.
Community segment!
The question we asked you guys last week, which was, will you be getting an Xbox One X, and do you think we'll see a price hike for these new powerful consoles?
Mm-hmm.
As a precursor to this, as always, I hit the mic.
The answer was a resounding no.
Yeah. If I butcher your names, I apologize in advance. I am a human and not a robot. So, Rebecca Barrett, she says that nope, I'm sticking with my PS4 and Xbox One until they stop making games for them. Then I'll switch, which is fair, perfectly fine, reasonable.
Yeah.
Might be a little bit, but still, again, like there's no rush, especially not with the Xbox One X. I would think. I mean,
Right.
the graphical improvements are nice, but personally, it's
Well,
not worth it to me
I
right
mean,
now.
I also thought about this though, and
Mm-hmm.
will Microsoft or even Sony, will they do like a new Nintendo 3DS? So
Okay, yeah, sort of like
yeah,
a slight upgrade, if that makes sense.
right.
Like, are they
Well,
gonna keep doing these, these smaller upgrades versus a big one every,
right.
you know?
And so with the new Nintendo 3DS, to my knowledge, like every game got an increase and games loaded quicker and they were faster and it added amiibo support directly to the system instead of requiring an infrared amiibo adapter thing. But it also, to my knowledge, there was only ever one game released that required you to have a new Nintendo 3DS to play.
Right.
And so, will Microsoft and Sony with their PS4 Pro, will they move into that direction? Like, sorry,
Yeah,
the comment
that is an
makes
interesting
me
thing.
wonder. Like, will there be games that are only Xbox One X compatible or only PS4 Pro compatible, and you have to have those systems to play?
Yeah, definitely. I see your point there because that did sort of happen with the 360 and PS4, PS3 when those came out. But anyway, back to the comments here. Matt Greer says, "Nah, it's a lateral purchase unless you've already gotten a 4K setup at home. There are no exclusive games for it, so why
Right.
bother?" Which again goes back to your point.
Yep. Will they make exclusive games? I mean, I think they will not. Like my gut feeling says they won't,
Yeah.
but games will load quicker, I think. And once people start using the system, they'll optimize it, and so you may see games that on the original Xbox load really slow, but on the new one load like butter.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly.
I
It
mean,
could be
I've
things like
actually
that.
already noticed. Sorry,
Yeah.
I should have mentioned this earlier, but in NBA 2K,
No, you good.
I noticed that um, the game itself seemed to load about the same amount of time, but when I was jumping over to a friend's neighborhood, or joining them up, or just starting like the game to, I should say the actual like basketball game in the my career, as opposed to going into
Yeah.
my career, because going into my career seemed like it was the same amount of time. But starting up a basketball game or joining a friend's neighborhood, all those seem to load 10 times faster. Like it did seem quicker.
Huh. Well, that's good.
Sorry.
That's good because you know how long those load times can be. No, you're good.
Yeah, I know.
So, Tui says, we're kind of going back to the sell at a loss mantra that console manufacturers took in the previous generations. The One X and Pro obviously cost a little more to build due to the updated tech used in them. So regardless, I think gamers are getting some pretty good deals on the two releases. So that
Hmm.
is a no. Comment comes from Robert Rolfe because
That's an interesting
he's
comment.
basically anti Xbox at this point. So again, another no, which is fine. Again,
Yeah.
do with it what you will.
And I said it
But
before, I don't see why the Xbox gets so much hate. Like, I can understand, going with the PS4. I understand why people do it. Um, I just, why the hate?
yeah, I find it strange that people like to hate on things in general,
Yeah,
like especially when it comes to consoles.
I
But
know.
again, that's a whole other
Like,
discussion because
I own all three of the consoles. I don't hate any of them. I
right,
enjoy some
I
more
both
than
the
others,
Xbox
but
and the PS4.
yeah, yeah. But you hate on the Switch, so you can't talk.
No.
Yes, you do. Anyways, sorry. I keep hijacking
No,
your
you're good.
comments.
You're okay. The hijack show. That's what this is. Where you just hijack my whole comment, never really finish anything. No, kidding. As always, guys, thank you so much for responding to us. And we have a new question of the week for you this week. Do you have a collection or do you have a piece of something that you're proud of, in your collection? It could be for me the Fallout 4 Pip-Boy edition. That's my piece that I'm really proud of.
Hmm.
So something like that, just let us know in the comments and we will read those answers on next week's episode. Anything else before we get out of here?
No,
Done?
no. I think we're good.
And we're out of here. Thank you all so much for tuning in to episode 21 of the R&R Gaming Podcast. We are a part of the Joystick Entertainment Network. Ken, before we go, tell them where to find us and you.
Yeah. So you can find me on Twitter at Macrobov. That's MACROBOV. You can find the R&R podcast on Twitter at R&R Gaming Pod. That's RANDR Gaming POD. You can find Joystick on Twitter at Joystick ENT. That's JOYSTIKENT. And of course, you can find us on YouTube. Hopefully, you're listening to us on YouTube. So hit that like, that subscribe, dingle the little bell so that you get notifications as soon as we have a new episode out. Byron, you can find him on Twitter at
Bron1417, that's capital BRON 1417. You can find me on Twitch streaming whenever I feel like it nowadays at twitch.tv/B_Ron1417. Again, that's B_Ron1417 for the Twitch handle. And we're working on something else for the podcast as far as getting it out to more people.
Mm-hmm.
So if that does happen, we will have that information for you next week in this section of the show where we plug ourselves. Um, and yeah, so again, just make sure you're following us on iTunes, on Twitter, on YouTube,
We
and following
tried
us as
Twitch.
well.
Byron doesn't feel like it these days.
It's a whole complicated situation, but we'll get into that later. But no, again, thank you guys so much for tuning in to this week's episode. Episode 22 is right around the corner, and also Thanksgiving, so we should have a special Thanksgiving episode for that time of the year. But before we get there, we have another episode to get to next week. They should come back. Ken, tell them why.
She'd come back because everyone could use a little more R&R. Had the next thing in my head, and then it went, woo. This is why you make notes, people. Don't just try and remember it off the top of your head. No, they are significant. They're gonna say blah 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 blah.
Yes. They make your frames drop. That goes for everyone. I mean, I watched on my phone and that was fine.
Wait. Is frames an urban dictionary thing for pants?
To my knowledge, no. But it might make them do that though.
Like, hey girl, I'm gonna make your frames drop.
Jesus Christ.